Hello, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark, a teacher of history, and this is a short informational video on what to do if you encounter a social justice warrior who just saw the movie Barbie. And this was actually inspired by an event that happened to me last week at my summer job, which is hosting in a restaurant. What happened is there's a lady there, and I went up and I said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And she said, "No, thank you. I've already been helped. I'm just waiting on something." And so I said, "Oh, that's good, because I'm basically functionally useless here other than greeting people with a smile." And then she looked at me and said, "Sort of like Ken?" And I said, "Well, back in my 20s when I bartended and had facial hair, a couple people called me Ken, but that's just because of the way I looked." And then she said, "Well, you should see the Barbie movie." And I said, "No, I think I'll skip that." And she said, "Well, there's an important message there." And I said, "What's the message? To be skinny, blonde, tan, and have big boobs and be plastic?" And she said, "Oh, no, the patriarchy." So just right there, if someone says patriarchy or toxic masculinity, I'm not going to take you seriously. Okay, those are just buzzwords for I don't know what. It's so emotionally and intellectually shallow. And I'm sorry to say that. I'm not a misogynist by any means. I have a great deal of respect for women and strong women, but not hysterical women that basically fit the stereotype of why men have put women down throughout history. Anyway, I think she sized me up as the kind of guy that would never talk to a person like her in high school. It wasn't, if that's the case, it wasn't because she's unattractive. It'd be because she's just a miserable person. So anyway, so when I said that about Barbie, she said, "No, the patriarchy." And I said, "Ma'am, I teach world history. All civilizations have been patriarchies." And then, of course, she said, "Well, what does that tell you?" I didn't go there because there's no way for me to answer that without really insulting her. And I said also, "I lived in East Asia for 2.5 years. That's a patriarchy. You think this is a patriarchy? You have no sense of scale." So, of course, what do social justice warriors do when they're confronted with a fact? They pivot to something else. Okay, pivot and blame and obfuscate. So, what she said after this is she said, "Well, there is the wage gap." The first thing I said was, "Ma'am, half the wage gap is explained by the number of hours worked. The wage gap is just a Department of Labor taking all the women that work, the number who work 32 hours a week, and divide that into the total salary they make. And they do the same for the men." So I said to her, and you can also explain it away because women dominate the 5 lowest paying professions and maybe only one of the top 5 paying professions. Plus, you don't take into account years of experience or education. I also told her that on the World Economic Freedom Index for women, the United States is in the top 12 countries. So, of course, when she heard this, she pivoted again and went to anecdotal evidence. Okay? And what she said was, "Well, men in this country don't know how to get in touch with their feelings." And what I didn't say, what I was thinking, but I didn't want to go too far, I was like, "All right, idiot, what country has men that get in touch with their feelings? Please tell me which country does that." Secondly, I said, "Yeah, but you can think too much. And if you think too much about your feelings, you just become neurotic. And nervous disorders affect women far more than they affect men."
final thoughts here. I was raised by a mom from Europe. And when my mom came to this country, she could speak 5 languages fluently. She's a strong woman, so I got nothing against a strong woman. Right? I actually lived in Europe twice, in Switzerland, then Czechoslovakia. And I can tell you that many of the women who complain over here seem embarrassingly shallow intellectually and emotionally fragile. Now, I'm not saying that men are perfect. I even admitted in the conversation with the woman, when I told her about the nervous disorders, I said, but men are much more violent, and that's worse. So no, I'm not saying men are perfect and don't do anything wrong. Everybody can work on something. But what I was arguing with that lady for was she was saying a whole bunch of nonsense, just slogans that the angry, neurotic people throw out there. All right? I didn't encounter the jealousy or the spitefulness or that childish, you doing it, I want it. I didn't encounter that in the 5 years I lived overseas.